Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I will be talking about Shang-Chi. Even though I watched that movie about 2 months ago, I am finally gonna start recording and talk about Shang-Chi, arguably one of the biggest movies of 2021. Now, if you watched my previous video on Black Widow over here, you would know that I'm not a huge fan of Marvel movies, but this one's like a big one and it's different because it is like an Asian main character and a lot of the story is revolved around Asian culture. Or Asian culture shows up a lot. Now, I only watch it because my brother wanted to watch it, and as the older brother, I need to be there so he doesn't get lost or get kidnapped or whatever. This time, I actually wrote down notes during the movie. There's not a lot of notes. It's just like 2 pages of notes, and if you see my handwriting is actually like really big, and like there's a lot of dead space. So there's actually not a lot I can talk about because I don't remember a lot about the movie aside from the things I wrote down. Anyway, this will be a full movie spoiler, so yeah, click off if you don't want spoilers. So let me give you a quick rundown of the whole movie. So Sean, our main character, is a valet person in a hotel or something, and one day he gets attacked by this Romanian guy with a sword for a hand. So it turns out that his dad sent assassins after him and they took his medallion that his mom gave him before she died. So worried that his sister might get attacked next, he goes all the way to Macau or Hong Kong to go talk with the sister, and there he gets entered into a fighting ring where he fights his own sister, and it turns out that the assassins were using Sean as bait to get to the sister. So now they're fighting inside of the fighting ring with all the assassins, but the assassins manage to get the sister's medallion also. And then they all go back to their hometown on a mountain. Well, I guess it's not really a town. And they meet their immortal dad. And the dad is like, guys, you know how your mom is dead? And everyone's like, yeah, she died. We were all there when she died, Dad. And he was like, listen, I've been hearing voices. And, if you're a kid, the first thing you think of is red flags. Oh, God, is he having Alzheimer's? He hasn't been wearing those rings for a long time, guys. But anyway, he's like, I've been listening to voices. Your mom is telling me that she's in the heavenly realm, her hometown. And everyone's like, what the fuck are you talking about, Dad? And it turns out that those two medallions, if you put them in a water fountain that they have inside their home, it will show you a map and tells you how to get inside of the heavenly realm. And the dad's like, we're gonna go to the heavenly realm. And if they don't give back your mom, we'll kill all of them. Sean is like, that's a bad thing to do. Let's not kill all of them. But the dad's like, I don't care. I miss her so much. And then Sean's like, all right, guess you gotta get there before him. And then they just meet a magical creature from that realm that's just casually chilling inside their house. And some random guy that was from Iron Man 3 or something. And they go to the heavenly realm. And then they fight a dragon. The dad dies. And now Sean has the 10 rings. I guess that's the end of the movie. That's a whole movie. Now, what did I think about the story? I think it was an okay story. I feel like they could have cut a lot of it out. What about the characters? There are a bunch of characters in this movie. First of all, there's the dad, and then there's Sean, there's Sean's sister, whatever her name was, and then there's Aquafina, whatever her name was, and then there's the Romanian guy who does not get a name, but he consistently shows up throughout the whole thing. And at the end of the movie, he's not dead. So presumably, if we try hard enough, we can get the Romanian guy back for Shang-Chi too. The only interesting character was the dad because the rings gave him like eternal youth or something. He just did not age and he lived for over 2,000 years. He built up a whole criminal empire. He has layers behind his personality. He really is like that bad boy who's been turned good by like his loved one. And ever since his loved one died, he turned back to being evil because the world shouldn't exist if she doesn't exist. Our main character basically has no personality. Is he doing this because of his own free will? Not really. He just thinks it's not good to kill people, and if your dad is trying to kill a bunch of people that's innocent and you have the power to stop him, it's not really like, oh, he's good because he's doing this. There could have been a lot more interesting things they could have done with his personality, especially because of his messed up backstory. But every time we try to explore those feelings or we try to dig deep into the darker parts of his past, they always try to layer it with comedy because this is still a family friendly movie, so it can't just be sad all of the time. But I feel like because they do that, it really makes the movie a lot worse, especially because you could have really explored like a lot of the emotions that Sean and his sister was feeling towards the dad, but actually they don't get to interact all that much. They spend like a day together. They separate for like a couple of days and then they talk for about 10 minutes before the dad actually dies. Our main character is not interesting. I don't like Aquafina. The thing is, this movie could have been taken into a different direction, and I would have preferred it if they took it more serious, dark, and gritty rather than like kind of dark but also comedic. And I don't know, I don't like Aquafina. I'm sorry guys, I don't think there should have been a quirky comedic best friend in this movie. She doesn't really contribute much to the story either. All right, so she is a burnt out genius, right? We have established that. And then later on, within 3 days, within 3 whole days, she masters the bow and arrow. Of course, she can still get better, but she is basically on par with a lot of the other warriors using that bow and arrow. So she still is a genius. Is she still burned out? I guess not, because she wants to save the whole universe now. But aside from that, it's not like we see her training her archery skills after they went back home. Did we see her buy a bow and arrow? Not really. Is she still gonna continue fighting? Because like, what is her character arc? I honestly have no idea. For all that matters, what is Sean's character arc? I feel like he is such a passive character. He's only reacting to the things that his father is doing. And then Sean's sister, oh my gosh, she is bland as all hell. I don't know what she's all about. She's sad. She has a messed up backstory. Does she get to unpack all of that? Not really. Does Sean apologize? I mean, kind of, but he doesn't do anything to help her after that. She's implied to be very good and very powerful, but she doesn't do anything against the dragon. We just see her fight some random guys and the Romanian guy, but that's it. Like, she does not really belong in this movie. If you took her out, everything will be fine. If you took Aquafina out, everything will also be fine. So like, there's just a lot of characters where if you erase them from the story completely, everything will still make a lot of sense. And actually, I feel like the pacing would be a lot better if you got rid of all of these extra characters. All right, this is the first point that I wrote down, and it's because of the dad's backstory. Now, in the beginning of the movie, they established the father's backstory and how he has the 10 rings and how over time his organization grew and grew, and these are all the things that his organization did. And in one of the scenes, there was a scene of like a treasure box, like it was opened and gold was spilling out, and that gold was terrible CG. I have trained my CG seeking knowledge from watching a lot of anime. That was really noticeable. That was not Marvel standards, I believe, so I wrote that down. But aside from that, a lot of the CG they used was actually pretty okay. I didn't think the dragon looked good. After the dad's backstory, we get to see Sean where like he wakes up and he does like a bunch of push-ups, and then we cut to him being like a valet boy or whatever. With if you just watch the movie, that is a good shot. But because they insist on showing that fucking trailer everywhere, before I watched Shang-Chi, I had to watch a trailer of Shang-Chi because it was part of the ads. Like, if you watch the trailer, you would already know that he was a fucking ballet boy. So that just like eliminates the whole purpose of that scene if you're gonna show in the fucking trailer anyway. They have good choreography. I like how when Sean fights, he consistently does like this, where like one hand is like a closed fist and the other hand is an open fist. And then later on throughout the movie, his aunt teaches him to both use open palms or something. But in the last scene where he punches the dragon, he was going for an open palm, but he was like, for my father. And then he switches back to his old fighting style because this is the fighting style that his dad used. I like that. That small gesture where no one says anything and you just see him change from open palm to one palm open and one palm closed. Like, that says a lot without saying anything. And for Marvel movies, I feel like they did a great job with that. Let's see here. What else did I write down? The dialogue is kind of cheesy, especially Aquafina's lines, but I guess that's like par for the course for Marvel movies. They're always written in the same-ish kind of way. And I don't know, I don't really like that. I don't like the Marvel formula. I wrote down there is a cliche scaffold fight, but modernized. So if you guys don't watch a lot of Chinese action movies, there's usually a fight scene where the characters are fighting on top of a scaffold where they start from the top and then they end up on the bottom and then there's like a million guys chasing after them. We have one of those scenes in Shang-Chi, but instead of like an old dusty building that's only like 4 stories tall, this is like 100-story building and the scaffolding is really tall or something, and I thought it was really absurd, but it was cool to see. It's like a nice callback to something that a lot of the Asian audience would probably enjoy. How does the aunt know about a lot of things? Well, that's a question I have. Why does the aunt know all this stuff if they never left the heavenly realm? How is Katie able to shoot arrows? Being an archer is hard. Yeah, how is Katie able to do that? Because drawing a bow, it takes a lot of muscle strength. Like holding it is like at least twice your weight. And she is a beginner. Also, she does not work out. How is she able to train with a bow for 3 days and be as good as all of the other archers within the village? I wrote down, main bad guy's dramatic moments have poor line delivery. There is no oomph. I feel like they could have redone some of his most climactic scenes, and I think the scene that I'm talking about here is during the final battle between the dad and Sean, because he has like a whole monologue. And I feel like a lot of Marvel movies, they dub over it anyway in the studio, so he could have done like a million takes to get the perfect line delivery, but they didn't do that. I guess they were busy or something. Masked person seems significant, but they just die and we don't know who that is. Yeah, there was a masked person who trained Sean when he was young, and then they just randomly die and we don't know anything about them. They were there and now they're dead. So that's just an extra character that we didn't have to focus on. I like how Shang-Chi uses the rings as platform. And I was joking with my brother that, infinite monkey bars. So instead of like flying like Supergirl or something, he just like infinite monkey bars, or he could continually run. If you're running forward, you don't want to constantly look at your legs, and like the rings are controlled telepathically. So if he fucks up the placement of the platform, he'll just die. But if you do monkey bars, well, it's just like you're putting it in front of you. And you're looking at your hands anyway when you're doing monkey bars, so I feel like that's more plausible than running on the rings. As I said before, like Marvel movies have some sort of formula to it. A lot of the movies they play out kind of the same way, and they have like this type of line during this part of the movie, and that's the part of Marvel movies that I hate the most. So if you took out all of the Marvel aspects of this whole movie, this would have been a like 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 for me, but because it is a Marvel movie and there's a lot of like things that I don't really like about it, I guess I would give this like a 5 out of 10, and that's being generous. Maybe a 4 out of 10. You know, I'll give it a 4.5 out of 10. That's the highest I can do. This movie gets a 4 out of 5. It's not unwatchable like Black Widow. And before I go, I do want to show that one of the notes that I wrote down was just DILF, because I thought the dad was a huge DILF and the dad was really hot. And yeah, I just wrote down DILF really big. Come on, the dad is just like a way more interesting character. I wish he was the main character of this whole thing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed looking at Sean's dad. Anyway, see ya.